Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
The big cattle industry convention in San Antonio is just 1 week away. We'll give you a preview. Plus, we'll show you how Texas Special Rangers work to prevent livestock theft.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. This time around, we're going to bring you a special preview of the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show coming up next week in San Antonio, Texas. First, we turn to some news. U.S. beef export values remain at record levels, making a major contribution to the U.S. beef market prices. Those exports have not happened on their own. Beef producers themselves have made strategic investments of beef checkoff dollars to grow those exports. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter has more on the work to build global demand for U.S. beef in this special report from Nebraska.
On a fall day in southeastern Nebraska, Mark Jagels is dodging raindrops as he moves cattle through his pasture. A fourth-generation farmer, besides cattle, Jagels also raises corn and soybeans with help from his son, Jason. One reason the family's optimistic about the future of their farm is the continued growth in exports of U.S. beef.
The growth in beef exports, I think, has been tremendous. I mean, this is really where we're making the money, I think, on what we're exporting to other countries. You know, you look at the added value that we're getting of over $275 per animal. We're exporting just a little bit over 13% of our total beef production here in the United States.
Jagels has seen foreign demand for U.S. beef firsthand, having served a year as chairman of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. USMEF, a contractor to the beef checkoff, has continued to push beef exports to record values.
I think it's important that we continue to invest beef checkoff dollars in organizations like USMEF and others to increase our foreign market development, because with increased numbers, we're going to see increased production, and we're going to have to continue to export or find a home for that increased production.
And Jagels notes that research by Dr. Harry Kaiser of Cornell University shows an $11.20 return for every beef checkoff dollar invested by producers like him.
Well, the beef checkoff, I think, is a vital tool that we have as producers that we pay, that is invested in programs, not only domestic but international, to help move our product. According to Dr. Kaiser's research, foreign beef demand would be 6.4% lower without the checkoff.
With the beef checkoff in place and USMEF working in more than 80 countries, Jagels says exports of U.S. beef to places such as Japan and Hong Kong are growing, and new demand is being uncovered in markets such as the Middle East and Europe. Thoughts like those can help make a damp day a little brighter. In Nebraska, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
No doubt, beef exports are one factor in the cattle prices we've seen over the past year, and they'll be a part of the discussion at the Cattle Facts Outlook session coming up next week in San Antonio. Joining me now to give us a preview of that session is Lance Zimmerman with Cattle Facts. Lance, cattlemen and women always look forward to your session at the convention. Give us a little preview of some of the topics you'll be covering during the Outlook session.
Well, obviously, one of the big discussions on cattle producers' minds is expansion. So we'll obviously be talking about what that's going to look like, not just in 2015, but over the next 5 to 10 years. We'll be talking about the demand implications of both domestic demand and what's going on in the international markets, and obviously the combination of those factors. What's it going to do to the market prices that we're expected to see next year and to come?
Yeah, and tell us this, why do you think it's so important for producers in this day and age to be on top of the market situation?
Well, you look at what happened this last year. We had cow-calf producers making about $500 a head on average across the U.S., stocker operators $300 a head, even feedlots made money this last year. And so as we think about the value appreciation we saw in 2014, we need to be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of equity at risk. These calves we have are still worth record high or near record high prices, and so we need to take strategic steps towards locking in those profits, whether that's through futures, options, forward sale markets, but locking in those prices and guaranteeing some profitability for years to come.
Give us a little preview as you look ahead to 2015 of what we should be thinking out, particularly about calf prices.
You know, as we look at this next year, the cow-calf producer is still going to be in the driver's seat. We're still in a supply environment where everybody above them is trying to get either extra beef in their meat cases, extra hooves in their feed yards, or extra cattle on pasture. And so the cow-calf guy is going to still see some of the great prices they saw in 2014 translate into 2015. We're likely to sit back and trade in more of a range. The straight higher prices we saw in a lot of these markets in 14 is likely to slow a little bit, which heightens that need for risk management. But I think producers can still anticipate very strong profits this year based on what the market appears to be giving them.
That's good news. Let's talk about inputs for a minute. Clearly, we've seen an improvement in the weather picture over the last year. What does that mean in terms of feed prices? You know, we've already seen hay prices come down a lot this last year. As you look at 2013's highs, we've really broken that market about 25 to 30%. In some areas where they got really plentiful rain, 50%. And so as we look at these hay prices on a U.S. average, they're around $115 to $125 a ton in most places for just average run-of-the-mill hay. And I think as we look towards this spring, you're going to see that reflective in the pasture costs and forage costs, as well as there's just going to be some more pasture available that hasn't been accessible in recent years. And we're still operating a cow herd that's towards the low end of the historical range. And so until we get that demand base built back up, I think there'll be some pasture out there to be had for a lot of producers. You mentioned expansion, and everybody's talking about it. What is it going to mean in terms of bred female prices as we move into the spring? You know, right now we're seeing a full range depending on quality, anywhere from $2,000 to upwards of $3,500 or more. Quality obviously is the big factor there. Right. What kind of genetics, what kind of condition they're in. And I think we're going to continue to operate in that range through the rest of this winter. The higher quality females are going to be in demand, and those that can go to work fast are going to be really the ones that are going to command a premium. That's great. Thank you so much for your insight. We'll look to hear more about all these topics during the Outlook session. Fantastic. Thanks, Kevin. For more information and expert market analysis, visit the website cattlefacts.com. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
You go out here and you start stealing a man's cows, that's his factory. You know, once you lose the factory, you can't make a living.
We'll introduce you to Texas Special Rangers and see how they help prevent livestock theft. And next, we'll take you to a century-old marketplace where beef is king. Stay with us.
You're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman on RFD TV.
New Holland is the undisputed leader in hay tools. We give farmers a wide range of innovative equipment that increases efficiency and productivity all year round. Because to us, smart means providing a smooth, clean cut with faster dry down, plug-free conditioning, and superior bale density. And smart means leaving less hay on the field to feed more livestock in less time. That's New Holland Smart. Visit your local New Holland dealer today.
If you're looking to raise the profit potential for your herd, then look to the proven Angus genetics offered by Ellingson Angus in St. Anthony, North Dakota. Their annual sale is the first Saturday in February, and they strive to produce premium quality Angus bulls and females.
I think what they'll find is a wide selection of cattle that can fit their need, and will find the right genetics, the right match for their individual herds.
Our number one goal is in utilizing any of these sire lines that we use is ensuring that they're the type of genetics that produce profitability for our commercial bull customer.
From calving ease to quality carcass traits and more, Ellingson Angus is where you'll find the Angus bulls that will make you money.
It's gotten to the point that the calves out of our bulls are demanding a premium.
Outstanding genetics and customer service make this the one sale you don't want to miss. Find out more at ellingsonangus.com or on sale day, view and bid at dvauction.com.
Here's what producers are saying about Progressive Cattleman Magazine, the beef industry resource.
I probably read more out of that magazine than any of them, and I found it very easy to use the magazine, in particular the center spread.
I just really love Progressive Cattleman as a magazine and whole, the information you get out of it.
Being able to read experiences from other people and things, tricks of the trades, I guess you could say, and new ways of doing things on our farm.
Subscribe today at progressivecattle.com.
Welcome back. San Antonio is a great place to hold the 2015 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show. It's a town with a rich history and a deep connection to the beef cattle business. And back in the day, when a cowboy rode into town, he just might have stopped at the Buckhorn Saloon. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter takes us to this historic place in the heart of San Antonio.
All it takes is one look at Texas Bob Reinhardt to realize the Buckhorn Saloon is not your typical watering hole. More than 130 years old, this historic bar and museum is located right in the heart of San Antonio. It was started by a young entrepreneur who had the brilliant idea to accept horns and antlers in exchange for free beer or whiskey from his saloon.
Well, the Buckhorn Saloon was established in 1881 by Albert Frederick. He was a 17-year-old bartender and bellhop at the old Southern Hotel on Main Plaza. In 1881, he decided to open his own saloon across the street, called it the Buckhorn. He was a hunter himself, so he brought some of his own trophies in to decorate with. Then his friends would come in and say, I've got a bigger rack than that at home. He said, bring it in, I'll hang it up. Then he collected trophies for years from big game hunters, donated. He'd buy trophies he liked, he'd take them and trade if people owed him money.
We also have a cafe on site that's open for lunch every day from 11 to 3, a wonderful gift shop, and as you can see right behind me, a saloon. And that is the original back bar that was opened in 1881. It's made of cherry wood and marble columns, and that's the original mirror from 1881 as well.
Over the years, San Antonio's most popular saloon has welcomed famous Americans such as Teddy Roosevelt and Will Rogers. They all came to get a look at one of the world's largest and most unique collections of horns, antlers, and animals. The exhibit halls showcase over 520 species of wildlife, many of which are record holders.
Well, one of the icons is right behind me here, Old Tex. At one time, he was the world record longhorn steer. His horns measure 8 feet, 1 1/4 inches from tip to tip. When he was on display in the saloon back at the turn of the last century, every night when Albert closed up shop, he detached the horns and locked them in his safe.
There's a story behind every animal that we have here on display. In fact, we have a gorilla upstairs in the African room, and you'll notice that he has no hair on his chest. Well, in the old days, he was in the front area of the Buckhorn, and people would come by and rub his chest, so all the hair, came off of his chest. And we just have stories like that throughout the entire museum, and it's just something for everybody, I think, all ages.
Also at the Buckhorn is the Texas Ranger Museum, which houses hundreds of Ranger artifacts, including weapons, badges, photographs, and more.
They were the first law enforcement organization in Texas, started in 1823. At that time, I think there were 8 or 10 Rangers initially to protect the settlers, and now there are maybe 125 or so. They're kind of like the FBI of Texas, if you will. They have jurisdiction in any county. They help local law enforcement solve the bigger cases. The collection we have on display in the Ranger Museum belongs to the former Texas Rangers Association, and we augmented that by building a kind of a recreation of old San Antonio inside. We have a blacksmith shop. We have the original Buckhorn Saloon in there from 1881. We've got a dentist office, a barber shop, a jailhouse, and a reproduction of Bonnie and Clyde's car because the Texas Rangers brought down Bonnie and Clyde in Louisiana.
The Buckhorn Saloon and Museum has always been known as a gathering place for good conversation, food, drink, and spectacular wildlife, something members of the cattle industry are sure to appreciate.
Please come and visit. We have horns from all over the world, antlers, all sorts of critters, and it's going to be right up your alley. All of the staff here we're just like a big family, and everybody has a big personality, and it's a just really fun place to work, a fun place to visit. So we are a historic Texas treasure and a real sight to see if you're visiting San Antonio.
Reporting from San Antonio, Texas, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
The 2015 convention kicks off next week, and it's not too late for you to go and enjoy all the convention has to offer. Joining us now to provide more insight on the 2015 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show is Kristen Torres. Kristen, this event has been a year in the making. Tell folks a little bit about the highlights they can expect, both in terms of speakers and in terms of educational events.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been very busy the past year putting together a great lineup. Attendees will have a chance to go to 3 different general sessions. The first one will be with Eric Wall, graffiti artist, which is going to be a great show. They'll have a chance to attend the CattleFax Outlook seminar. And then the third general session is with Brett Baer from Fox News. It's a great lineup for folks, not to mention the lineup of speakers that we have at Cattlemen's College, including farm broadcaster Max Armstrong.
Outstanding. And you're always adding to the trade show. Tell us what's in store this year.
Oh my gosh, we have so much going on in the trade show this year. It's a record-sized show. We have over 350 companies that will be exhibiting there and 7 acres of exhibit space. One thing that's new this year is the cattle barn. We're going to have various breeds on display in the show. And we also have education available on the trade show floor. We have live animal handling sessions going on in the demonstration area. We also have a learning lounge where we have a classroom style setting with a whole lineup of education programs throughout the day.
And it's not just about education and business. There's a little bit of entertainment as well.
Yeah, we do like to have a little bit of fun while we're at convention. We have receptions pretty much every day. We have a big party planned that's for all attendees. It's called the Nothing But Texas Party, where we'll have some great Texas beers and some great Texas food. And then we'll close out the convention with comedian Jeff Foxworthy at the Cowboy Comedy Club, and we also have a special guest, Riders in the Sky, that will be there as well.
That'll be a lot of fun. What do producers tell you in terms of the value of coming to the convention, Kristen?
The value is incredible. We hear from producers, once they attend, they come every year. They love it. As I said, we have receptions every day. We have a great lineup of education, and the opportunity to network with cattlemen from across the country is really invaluable.
So the convention is next week. Is there still time for producers to attend even if they don't make a final decision until next Tuesday or Wednesday?
Absolutely. We will have registration on site at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, which is in downtown San Antonio. They can register starting on Tuesday the 3rd. Just show up there on site and we'll get you taken care of.
Outstanding. I'm looking forward to it, Kristen. We'll see you next week.
See you there.
As Kristen told us, there are some one-of-a-kind events on the agenda in San Antonio, including the Cowboy Comedy Club with none other than the great Jeff Foxworthy, set for Friday night, February 6th, and a ticket is included with your convention registration. Don't forget, you can find out all you need to know and even register online at beefusa.org. Don't go away. We'll have more right after this.
This is yours, and so is what grows there. Not theirs or theirs, yours. You need this to fight this and this to grow more this. Because the more of this you feed them, the less this you spend on that, which leaves more of this here. Don't let them take this from you. Chaparral takes care of weeds and brush, and that's that.
You may not be thinking about spring yet, but we are, and that means it's time for the John Deere Green Fever sales event. Get ready for the season early with the hottest deals on compact and utility tractors, hay tools, even John Deere gators and turf equipment. Get 0% financing, cash back, and implement bonuses so you'll be ready when warm weather returns. And enter to win a $25,000 landscape makeover, plus John Deere equipment at johndeere.com/greenfever.
Join the nation's hottest cattle marketers and the nation's hottest cattle convention, the 2015 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in sizzling hot San Antonio. Stop by the Superior booth to find out how we top the market in all aspects of livestock marketing. From internet auctions to national television broadcast, we offer it all. Be sure to remember the Alamo and remember Superior Livestock for all your livestock marketing needs.
One of the great things about attending the Cattle Industry Convention is the opportunity to get a better understanding of how all parts of the beef industry work together, from pasture to plate. For example, in San Antonio, we discovered a beef retail business that you just might want to see for yourself. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brad Bulla has our story.
Believe it or not, this building has been standing on this corner in San Antonio for more than 100 years. And you may not be able to tell from the outside, but a quick step inside proves that Bollner's Meat Market is a business built on high-quality beef.
We started in 1914, 100 years ago. My grandfather started his mercantile store. We used to sell everything. About 1932, my Uncle Dave got out of the Army and started the meat market. And that's how we got in the meat business, about 1932.
Beef is a big part of what we do. You know, this is a family-owned and operated business, and it's been center to the plate and has taken a bunch of the attention of the company. It's what we do.
Bollner's is famed for its quality meat and skilled butchers. At the heart of the business is the pristine display counter, where USDA Prime, Choice, and Akaushi beef is cut to order for customers.
Bollner's has a long-standing reputation for quality and service, and that's one thing we're not going to skimp on. We do a bunch of different style cutting. We're all old-fashioned meat cutters. Here we still break carcasses. We get swinging cattle in here. So by doing that, we're not limited on what we can do. We're not limited to box beef. We do a lot of personalized chuck roasts. People say, Joe, I like my chuck roast 2.5 inches. We'll cut a chuck roast at 2.5 inches. If people say, Joe, can I get a prime brisket? Sure, we've got prime briskets. Can you trim my prime briskets? And we say yes. You know, there's a lot of different things that we do that people appreciate. The customers here love what we do. You know, I always tell them, I can give you bad advice, I can give you a bad direction, but I'm not going to give you a bad steak. And we're going to cut them the way you like them, I guarantee you.
It's not just San Antonio families that are fond of Bollner's. The business ships beef to customers all across the U.S. You don't get to stay in business this long without offering a high-quality product. One key lesson they've learned at Bollner's is that good beef starts on the ranch.
Our focus all these years has been on providing quality beef to the customers, and the beef industry has helped us a lot and provided, you know, the better quality meat, and we just try to make it better.
Our focus here is to put the best available product out to our customers at all time. You know, we shop the industry market all the time, and we're always looking for the best quality. By far, we're not price buyers. We want quality for our customers, and we want the best out there all the time. And we have a saying here, we say, we cut them the way you like them. So we're gonna cut a steak, you know, just the way you like it. We're gonna prepare and wrap your meat exactly the way you want it.
If you're looking for great beef cuts, a trip to this 4th-generation, family-owned and operated market is definitely in order. The folks at Bollner's are excited that so many members of the cattle industry are coming to San Antonio.
We welcome you with open arms. We love what y'all do for the industry. Hang in there. It's a tough business, and we know it, and we appreciate y'all greatly. The passion and love for what y'all do in the cattle industry shows here. And we need to represent your product, and we are representing your product to our customers.
When you hear somebody tell you, hey, man, that's the best steak I ever had, that's the best brisket I ever had, you know, it just makes you feel good. And it's a living. The cattle industry has been good to us, and the cattlemen have been good to us, and we try to just keep it going and make it better for them.
Reporting from San Antonio, Texas, I'm Brad Bulla for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
Of course, providing high-quality beef to consumers is the foundation of the cattle business. And in San Antonio next week, you can learn more about improving beef quality and a wide variety of other valuable topics at the 22nd Annual Cattlemen's College. And joining me now to talk more about Cattlemen's College is John Patterson of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Dr. Patterson, the lineup of speakers at Cattlemen's College seems to be getting better each and every year. Tell us a little bit about some of the highlights this year.
Phenomenal lineup, 22 classes you can pick from. We're going to talk everything about this hamburger issue. We're going to have live animal demonstrations, thin, moderate, and fat cows. which kind of animal makes most sense for hamburger. Going to have the Colorado State guys come in. Dr. Smith will be there to lead that. We're going to talk about issues related to the herd, rebuilding the herd. We're going to talk about, bull season is coming up here in March. How do I go about evaluating a good bull? And so Matt Spangler will talk about that. We're going to talk about the water issues in the West with our own Colin Woodall and Dustin Van Loo. Talk about that. One of the questions that so many of our producers are asking about is, should we give the ranch to the kids or should we not? Maybe we ought to sell it and give them the money. But that's a huge issue on our producers' minds. So succession planning is a big issue on that. Export markets, big issue with, we're making so much money on exporting those cattle. So we'll have people from Agri-Beef, Certified Angus Beef, U.S. Meat Export Federation will come in and talk about that. Great lineup, 22 classes.
And it's important to let people know it's not all just classroom experiences. There's some real hands-on demonstrations going on, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. On Tuesday afternoon, we're going to bring into the arena a thin, a moderate, a fat, and a white fat cow. And we're going to talk about how do you evaluate those cows in terms of dressing percent, but what we really want to get at, does it make sense to keep that cow, or should I feed that cow, and what's her value if I put 60 days of feed in that? Going to be a great hands-on class. Oh, by the way, we're going to look at the carcasses of those kind of animals too. So we'll have the live animal and the carcass animal, and you get to see, well, yeah, that makes sense going to restaurant, that makes sense going to hamburger.
That should be really interesting. And tell me about herd expansion. It's on the minds of everybody I talk to. What are we going to learn about herd expansion?
Well, I don't know what to say to you. In the cattle market, we've got the futures and the cash market going opposite directions. So we're bringing in Darryl Peel. Darryl makes sense of this market, the rebuilding the cow herd, and he will give you his opinion. We've got 5 classes. One of the other classes to talk about is we've got the demand. How are we going to meet demand? Pete Anderson. We're going to have to talk about reproduction on these heifers, George Seidel. And as I mentioned to you, we got to pick that good bull here in late February and March, Matt Spangler. So we've got 5 classes to talk about the various components in herd rebuild. And I think the audience is going to really enjoy these speakers.
KP, I've had friends tell me that Cattlemen's College is worth the whole trip to convention. Why do you think it's such a can't-miss event?
I think because we pull together guys you're not going to see in one place. Like I said, 22 classes. You're going to have a hard time deciding which class to go to. And so these guys are nationally renowned, both academics and industry guys that are doing it every day, guys that think about it every day. You won't find that out throughout the rest of the year. NCBA does a great job of pulling these guys into one place and say, let's talk about what's going on in the beef business.
Thanks for your leadership in arranging such an exciting program. I'm looking forward to it myself.
You're more than welcome.
Why not join us next week for the 22nd Annual Cattlemen's College and the rest of the Cattle Industry Convention in San Antonio? Find out more at beefusa.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, we'll hear from our friend Baxter Black. And next, we'll bring you a day in the life of a special ranger in Texas. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Well, I think a rancher has to be a steward of the land. There's nobody else that can take care of land better than a rancher. When we switched over to the Purina products, it was a step in the right direction.
The difference we see in the cattle is the consistency of their nutrition.
The cattle hold their condition a lot better throughout the whole year.
It does make a difference that we can see, day in and day out.
To truck guys, the truck is everything. And when you put them in charge of making an unbeatable truck, good things happen. This is the Ram 1500, the 2014 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. And first ever back-to-back winner. Guts, glory, Ram.
Your herd, your business, your family. You've always protected what matters most, so you know how important vaccinations are for healthy cattle. And with Vista vaccines from Merck Animal Health, you know you're covered. No other vaccine works like Vista. Only Vista gives you complete dual-action pneumonia protection and complete one-dose fetal protection for the entire pregnancy. Protect what matters most. Talk to your veterinarian or animal health supplier about Vista.
One group that's happy the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show is making a return to San Antonio is the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Russell Nemitz gives us a closer look at special rangers and how they work to protect the interests of members of the cattle industry.
It may look like a simple blue sign posted on a ranch gate, but it's actually a warning to would-be thieves. Don't mess with this operation. That's because members of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association can call on special rangers to help protect their land and livestock.
I'm commissioned by the Texas Department of Public Safety as a ranger, but I work for the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, and that history spans a long time, from the time that the association employed rangers for that association. We've been around for, what is it now, 137 years. That's a long time. That is a legacy, it definitely is, of taking care of our producers, the members of the association.
Special Ranger Max Hartman is based in Fredericksburg, Texas. Besides covering the 8 counties in his own district, he supervises rangers in an area that covers 54 counties in West Texas, stretching all the way to El Paso. He says each ranger has been trained in law enforcement and has in-depth knowledge of the cattle business, making them a true asset to fighting crime.
We have apprehended individuals in cattle thefts that have made the statement that we will stay away from a piece of property where we see that blue and white sign. Because that guy's a member, and we know that there are special rangers involved in apprehension, and we stay away from there. We have a tendency to stay away from a piece of property that has that sign.
Each year, the 30 peace officers who serve as TSCRA Special Rangers investigate around 1,000 agricultural crime cases, and they recover an average of $5 million in stolen cattle and assets for ranchers. This effort is not funded with a single cent of taxpayer money. Instead, TSCRA membership dues provide the funds for ranger salaries, equipment, and training. Despite this arrangement, special rangers work for the benefit of the whole cattle industry.
A lot of people think that the Texas Rangers work just for the Cattle Raisers Association. In other words, if you don't have a blue sign outside your gate, that you're not going to get us to help you. But that's an untruth. We work closely with all of our sheriff's departments throughout the state, and Texas and Oklahoma, and we receive a lot of calls from our sheriff's departments on stolen livestock, stolen equipment. And it's not necessarily just cattle, it's sheep and goats, because a lot of our members run sheep and goats. So we work for members and non-members alike. But most of those people that are non-members, after we do a job for them, they join the association.
These days, the theft of cattle and ranch equipment is on the rise in Texas and Oklahoma, and special rangers are in the forefront of the fight. Special Ranger Max Hartman says rustling is not just a crime of opportunity done at night by someone who isn't organized. He says thieves will study a rancher's routines and often load out cattle in broad daylight.
We have a lot of areas there where they just call them into a pen with a sack of feed, and so consequently, when a set of pens is close to the road, it's inviting for a thief, especially if he sees the habits of a landowner when he's coming to check his cattle. He knows when he's there, he knows when he's not there, and it's easy to call them into a pen, and you can load 4 or 5 calves or a couple of cows, anything in no time at all. You go out here and you start stealing a man's cows, that's his factory. You know, once you lose the factory, you can't make a living. In the cattle market, now we all know, you know, yearling calves running from $1,300 to $1,700 per head. And mother cows, if they're young cows and they're bred cows, you know, you're talking $2,400 a head. You know, that's a lot of money to these landowners.
Unfortunately, some of those stolen or missing animals are not branded. Many cattle thefts are solved and thieves apprehended through the use of TSCRA's brand inspection program and database.
Our market inspectors / brand inspectors are stationed at a specific auction. For instance, Fredericksburg, I have one man that works that sale barn, and he's there primarily to inspect all the cattle that come in, document earmarks and brands, colors, and everything that's involved in the identification of cattle. We have a brand database that we have access to. All of our brands are coded, numerically coded, and with letters also. And if you can code out a brand, we can send that through our computers to cattle raisers' headquarters and get a hit on that brand right away. But if I was going to pick one thing that's more important than anything, is branding your cattle. You've got to brand your cattle in order to be able to expect us to retrieve those animals, because it's a license plate on an animal is what it is.
Over the years, TSCRA has gained worldwide respect through the vigilance of its special rangers who are committed to honoring and protecting the ranching way of life.
You can't work with a better group of people than ranchers. You know, they appreciate what you're doing. That's probably one thing about our profession, is that you're appreciated by the people, and they respect you, and they call on you when they need you. And that's probably going to be one of the hardest things for me whenever it's time to retire, is to walking away from these people that I feel obligated to.
Reporting from the Texas Hill Country, I'm Russell Nimitz for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
Don't go away. We'll have more of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman right after this.
Whether you're feeding cattle, milking cows, or baling hay, the work on your farm is never done, which is why you need equipment that works as hard as you do. Get the efficiency and versatility you need with Case IH. From farm-all compact and utility tractors to balers and mowers, all Case IH equipment is designed with one thing in mind: getting the job done. To learn more, visit caseih.com/livestock.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right, where it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots. When you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real, and feeding my family a home-cooked meal. That's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
Hello, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Each week, we travel the country to bring you the latest cattle industry news and information. Check us out at cattlemantocattleman.org or on Facebook and Twitter. One of the brightest spots in beef markets these days is the export market. Advances in byproduct value is helping to fuel those prices. And joining me now is Paul Clayton from the United States Meat Export Federation to tell us a little bit about that export market and his session for the 2015 Cattlemen's College. Paul, the export market is very, very dynamic right now, and I guess I would be curious, what are the types and kinds of cattle that are most valued overseas?
Thank you, Kevin. Well, I don't know if there's any particular types that are more valuable than others, because in most cases, each head's going to contribute some part to go to the international markets. So, but by the same token, we still have some branded programs that provide a lot of value in those markets. So fundamentally, I think that all the animals do contribute something, just because some of those things aren't consumed very widely here in the United States.
So let's talk specifically about cuts. What are the cuts that are most highly prized in other foreign markets? markets?
Well, primarily, I guess from a demand standpoint, we have a lot of value in the variety meat items. Of course, those are sometimes called the off-haul items, and they're just not consumed here in the United States because we have so many other choices that we can choose from. But they are valuable in other markets, and they do put a lot of value into the beef cattle here in the United States. We also have some of what we call our thinner cuts, which are cuts that typically come off the belly of the animal. Those are very highly prized, particularly in the Asian markets. The other thing I think that's key here is in markets like Mexico, and at one time with Russia, the very, very lean items, such as off of the round, are very popular with those particular markets.
You know, I hear a lot about drop credit value and what that means from a global perspective. Specifically, what drives the value of drop credit?
Well, drop credit is basically a measurement of the byproducts that are salvaged off of the animal. And that's primarily three items. It would be the variety meats, the rendered items, which typically are tallow and meat and bone meal, and then lastly would be the hides. Okay. The hide tends to be the highest value of those, and depending upon the value of some of the other markets, the variety meats and the rendered items may differ in what their value is, depending upon where they're going throughout the world. The whole complex is probably about in excess of $5 billion. So that's about $200, maybe $220 per head that those markets provide to the U.S. beef cattle value.
Significant value then, for sure. You mentioned Russia before. I'm curious, there is a lot of volatility that comes with the export market. Specifically, what issues are you keeping your eye on now?
Well, some of the bigger issues are, where the markets are and which ones are easier to deal with and get our products into. Obviously, the Russian market is closed to all U.S. products, so that makes that difficult for us. But you know what? We're looking for other markets that really can fill that void. Even with the high prices we have today with our beef cattle, that doesn't seem to affect the demand a whole lot internationally. So even though the value of the byproducts do increase along with the other beef items, we're still able to merchandise those and move them very easily in the marketplace.
Speaks to the great work you and the other team members at Meat Export Federation are doing for us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To find out more about Cattlemen's College 2015 and to see the full agenda, visit the website beefusa.org. We'll be right back.
If you're looking to raise the profit potential for your herd, then look to the proven Angus genetics offered by Ellingson Angus in St. Anthony, North Dakota. Their annual sale is the first Saturday in February, and they strive to produce premium quality Angus bulls and females.
I think what they'll find is a wide selection of cattle that can fit their need, and will find the right genetics, the right match for their individual herds.
Our number one goal is in utilizing any of these sire lines that we use is ensuring that they're the type of genetics that produce profitability for our commercial bull customer.
From calving ease to quality carcass traits and more, Ellingson Angus is where you'll find the Angus bulls that will make you money.
It's gotten to the point that the calves out of our bulls are demanding a premium.
Outstanding genetics and customer service make this the one sale you don't want to miss. Find out more at ellingsonangus.com or on sale day, view and bid at dvauction.com.
Join your fellow cattlemen in sizzling hot San Antonio for the 2015 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show. It's the beef industry's biggest convention, and it's great for education, networking, and fun. Plus, you can check out the NCBA Trade Show for the latest technology. It's the 2015 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show in sizzling hot San Antonio, Texas, February 4 through 7. Visit beefusa.org for more.
Calves require adequate, high-quality colostrum immediately following birth to receive the immune and nutritional support needed to fight diseases and thrive. Next-generation Colostrix colostrum replacer and supplement are USDA licensed to aid in the treatment of failure of passive transfer and contain natural maternal bovine colostrum antibodies against E. coli K99. Ask your animal health supplier for Colostrix or visit agrilabs.com for details. Colostrix makes all systems go.
We know who made that hitch. We know who cut the steel, who milled the ball, and who welded the seams. We know who tested, measured, and checked. We even know who thought the whole thing up. We're B&W, and we know your hitch. Because we don't make them halfway around the world. We make them all right here. B&W. Trusted.
The beef cattle business today has evolved into 5 distinct segments. Let me start with number 1, the purebred breeders, the architects for the industry. They steep themselves in statistics and they redefine genetics in an effort to define subjective traits objectively. Not unlike ancient mariners drawing and redrawing the constellations in the night sky. The next segment, number 2, is the commercial cow-calf operator. They produce our product beef from scratch. They think in terms of generations, both human and bovine, and they have a loyalty to the land. You rarely hear one of them say, "Oh, I'm just ranching to make enough money to buy a car dealership downtown." The grower, segment 3, takes calves once they've been weaned and keeps them till they're big enough to go to the feedlot. They come from farms, sale barns, dog pounds, and traders. It is a hands-on, demanding job, equivalent to teaching kindergarten through 3rd grade. Lots of babysitting. Segment number 4 is the feedlot. This is where most of the costs and gains are predictable within reason. However, predicting the market 120 days later is like rolling the dice. Cattle feeders could easily be wildcatters or prospectors, test pilots, punt returners, or Wall Street speculators. They thrive on risk. If you guaranteed them a 20% profit on a truckload of steers, they'd hold out for 25. And the final segment in our cattle business is the packing house, where live cattle are turned into beef. Very little is known about these curious people. They sequester themselves in ritualistic confines where they chant and mutter phrases like yellow sheet, on the rail, grande, triple shot, skinny, no foam latte. To the rest of us, they're as mysterious as the Vatican. We're only aware of their presence when we see a white puff of smoke and the phone rings offering less. This is Baxter Black, and I've worked in all 5 segments from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. If you'd like to learn more about what's happening with NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, you can find us on Facebook. Be sure to like our page, and we'll keep you updated with photos, details on upcoming shows, and much, much more. And it's a great way to connect with other cattlemen and women across the country. So check us out on Facebook. We'll have more right after this.
Back on those Texas plains.
Join us, Riders in the Sky, for sizzling hot San Antonio.
It's the 2015 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show.
So grab the family and head to Texas for the latest cattle industry information and education, plus some fun and entertainment with us.
It's an event you won't want to miss. Join us in San Antonio, Texas, February 4th through February 7th. There's plenty more information at beefusa.org.
And we'll be back on those Texas plains.
See you there, Saddle Pals.
Got a friend or family member with a case of classic tractor fever? You can help by ordering them the Classic Tractor Fever Farm Deal. This special set includes both the 2015 Classic Farm Tractors calendar and the companion DVD, Uncommon Classics. It's our biggest and best lineup of tractors ever. That's hours of enjoyment on the wall and on the TV. Just call 1-800-888-8979 or visit the website, classictractors.com.
Now, don't forget, you do indeed still have time to make it to San Antonio and be a part of the amazing educational and fun Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. The convention is set for next week, February 4th through the 7th, and you can find out more at beefusa.org. Time now for this week's Legacy Photos. Let's have a look. You can send us your own legacy photos by visiting our website. That's cattleman2cattleman.org. Next week on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, we'll be coming to you from San Antonio as we prepare for the 2015 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. We'll hear from cattle industry leaders and give you a look at the acres of action and tons of fun to be had in San Antonio. Join us in person or right here on Cattleman to Cattleman. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week from sizzling hot San Antonio right here on RFD TV.